Morning, everyone. Welcome all to the demo session on Azure Data Engineering. And before I start, I just wanted to make sure that everybody is able to hear me. Is everything all right, guys? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. So today's session, my request was let's make sure that it's as much as interactive as possible. Yeah, so thank you, Nitesh, as well, to confirm the chat. So we do have options in the chat if people don't wanted to, wanted to have a conversation on this. Please feel free to put your questions on the chat, and whenever I have time in the meeting, I'll be able to provide you the details. And the focus mostly here is to introduce on data engineering, some of the concepts of data engineering, what we do in the course. And we also will be introducing on making sure that a small demo is given here. So this is the plan today, so that you understand what we're going to be learning as part of the course. I'll try to minimize myself into the very basic level, not at the higher end. But please feel free to stop me if you have any questions. All right. All right, welcome all. And today is a demo session for Azure Data Engineering Professional Training, Databricks. So we do have two kinds of course. One is an associate course and another is a professional training. And this is a professional course and which actually is suited for any kind of candidate who wanted to upskill and you are a ETL developer and you wanted to come towards data engineering side with a coding background and on cloud technologies, cloud big data skill set. This is the best one. And at the same time, you are a no voice in the IT industry and you want to learn from the basics and an end-to-end of data engineering. So this is the right course as well. So let me introduce ourselves. So we are from Academy of Data, and we are based out of Bangalore. So this is the organization which is uh, actually supporting this training program for a very long time. And only data engineering courses are generally being offered as part of Academy of Data. And our partner organization, and again, Academy of Data is from Bangalore, and Talent Tech Solutions from Hyderabad. So one of the best organization for talent training, and which is also having the leaps forward into the data engineering domain. So this is a sister company in Hyderabad operating near to the JNTU. So we also have online and offline presence. If somebody wanted to be interested to go to office in Hyderabad, yes, you have an office address there, which is Talent Tech Solutions. If you say you wanted to be in Academy of Data and you wanted to come to office and be available offline, so please feel free to come over. So in Bangalore, so we are located near to Manita Tech Park, and we're really happy to host you. All right, so let's talk about me. Okay, my name is Kumar, and I'm a trainer on Azure Data Engineering. So primarily focusing on Azure, SQL, Python, Databricks, and I'll be the main trainer this time. I'm the main instructor, and I have around 13 plus years of experience as an enterprise data architect, working for companies like pharma companies, especially like AstraZeneca, Novartis, and also worked upon other companies, on Informatica and talent as well, way back, when I started my career as well. So I worked in some of the product-based companies which are also into petroleum natural gas. I worked in Shell as well as an enterprise architect. So this is all about me. And then we also have another trainer, Venkat. So Venkat sir is the expert on Azure Data Factory, and he'll be the one, who will be hosting you on the ADF side of things. Now, the primary blocks are going to be Azure, SQL, Python, Databricks. So a course of 3 months is a course of 3 months, and then I'll be with you and all the real-time projects on Databricks, especially on the Python and Apache Spark is something which is taken care by me, and even on Azure and SQL fundamentals side. And I'm a certified Azure and AWS trainer, and also a certified Databricks data engineer plus data engineer professional and ML ops trainer as well. And I'm there to help you through your learning journey on data engineering. All right, this is all about me. Any questions on, or any questions for me? No, okay. Let me go forward. So let me talk about the course. So what about this course, right? So the course is all about Azure Cloud to start with. You'll be working on the foundations of Azure, Maybe we'll be thinking of how to create an Azure virtual machine. We talk about virtual storages, what you can do, ADLS. We talk about blob storages, what is possible there as part of Azure, and we talk about the networking concept. So this generally makes sure that you are a very good cloud practitioners on Azure, and we help you in that directions. Okay. Now we also help you on extracting the data from variety of sources. So this is something now which after the cloud. So we work on these areas, and we also transform the data using SQL. So this is something which we do it. And then we try to load the data into relational database and data lakes. Okay. So this is what we do. And at the same time, right? So we also try to make sure that you get exposure to SQL. We start, uh, from the basics, and we take it to the next level. So this is what we do. And if you say, uh, and one more thing is the basics for the foundation of the data engineering here is uh, Python. Python will be the core programming language which you'll be working upon, and you'll be running using Spark to run data pipelines in distributed compute. Now we'll also be working upon creating the notebooks and run Spark pipelines in Databricks. So these are the other areas which you'll be also working upon. And you'll also learn creating data pipelines and other ETL use cases using Azure Data Factory. So these are the areas that we're going to work. So we primarily focus on the big data technologies as well. We talk about Apache Spark, and again, even before Apache Spark, we talk about the storages like Spark and all. And having that kind of understanding is very important as well. So having this course is that you're actually going to work on cloud, you'll work on SQL at an from a basic to an advanced level, and then Azure also from the basic to an advanced level. And you talk about Python from a basic to an advanced level, and then we'll also talk about Apache Spark. So Apache Spark is the de facto engine which is used for processing big data sets. Now, in those cases, you need to have a powerful engine which can actually help in distributed computation. And we'll also talk about some optimizers as part of it. And Apache Spark with Databricks is the right combination. So we use Databricks. So if you ask, why we are better, why this course is better is we put Databricks as a center, as a heart of this course. The reason is Databricks is a unified platform, and it's the only platform which is actually available in all the three clouds. So you don't need to worry, you're just joining an Azure data engineering course. No, it won't be like that. It would be, you'll definitely use one of the cloud, which is Azure. And we definitely, talk more on the Azure side, storages, compute and all. At the same time, we put Databricks in the center, in the heart. The advantage of, all the three clouds will always come in because all the three clouds support Databricks. And again, the important part is you're actually working on Apache Spark, and Apache Spark is accepted on all the platforms that are there in the market. So be it in AWS Glue, you talk about Azure Synapse, it's the same thing. But we focus on Databricks. The reason is the chances for any engineer to get a job, especially in any company, is going to be very high, and that's what we have noticed as well. So, and the other part is we talk about Azure Data Factory. See, having an ETL exposure is also very good. And the latest ETL right now in the market, especially on the cloud side, are ADF and AWS Glue. Now, we feel that the ADF has a very wide area of utilizations, and that is evidently true because many of the organizations like HDFC Bank and all, right, so they have adopted Azure as the de facto platform, and many people uses a combination of ADF plus Python Spark, using Databricks, and then of course, they use Azure specific components in a way in between. So I think this is a perfect course if you talk about get being a data engineer and what you need. And we talked about an extraction from variety of sources as well. I'll be talking about many variety of sources, including relational, non-relational. I mean, you can talk about semi-structured, structured, and then unstructured as well. Especially we say semi-structured JSON kind of files. So all these things we extract, and we also transform, right? Not only using SQL, we're also using with PySpark as well, and then load it to a data lake. And we'll also talk about data model implementation as well as part of this course, right? So this is all about the course. Anybody has any questions on this course? Because it's very important as well. All right, let me go forward then. All right. So again, I wanted to, have a representation of technology stack, what we are planning for this course, which includes Azure Cloud, SQL. So SQL we are using from Azure SQL database. So you'll be working, so this all, everything is going to be Cloud Labs. So you'll be actually working on Azure SQL only, database only, and then we'll also work on Python again, and PySpark on Databricks using the concept, using the Databricks notebooks again, and then Azure Data Factory. So these are the logos for each of the tech stack, and these are being covered. And what was not part of it and what we're covering is our specific use cases. So one of them, so people who are interested to see what exactly are the details of the course content, my request is go for here. So you can see academyofdata.in, and then you can see Azure Data Engineering. So you have the course content very detailed given here. So please take a look at it. I'm going to put it in as part of the chat so that you can take a look at, even after the class. Just give me a minute, please. Okay, I'm back. All right. So I'm making sure that you have all the content, course content available with you. So please check the chat. So in that, right, so we also try to add some, so most of the time, right, so the trainers here in this course are coming from a consulting background. And so the team we set up, coming to training are having a solid understanding of best practices across the data engineering space. So one of them is if you want to do some testings on the data, right? So data sets, a larger data set, how do you handle it? Okay, do you have a framework on those kind of things? So we do have certain times like that, certain types of libraries which can be helpful. So one of them is called Great Expectations, and we also included it as part of it. So those generally helps you to prepare well for your interviews as well, and also it also helps you to enhance the way that you look at the use cases. So when you tell that, no, I do a testing using Great Expedition kind of framework, and then we do compare results for a larger data set, like, like 10 GB or 15 GB of data set, at each slot, you're actually trying to compare and you're giving a picture, a representation in a graph. So that is something, any company will love you for that reason. And I'm pretty sure that, that's going to be a very good thing that, you're going to keep it in your profile. And we're going to work on those use cases as well. And then, of course, we'll also include in detail, like slowly changing dimensions, the data modeling concepts, STD 1, 2, 3, and all those areas will be covered as part of the course. And now, before we don't put, we wanted to go forward, I wanted to make sure that you understand the role as a data engineer, what exactly a data engineer does. This is primarily important as well for people who are looking for upskilling or people who are new to the data engineering domain and what exactly they have to learn, right? So a data engineer is going to design, build and maintain data lakes and data warehouse. So remember, when you talk about data lake, it is more for the larger data sets and which could be also not relational. I mean, when you say relational, it is all about SQL tables. But when you say non-relational, it could be about kind of a semi-structure like JSON files, or you're talking about videos as well, and audios. And then we talk about data warehouse, which is mostly structured, and generally 90% of the use cases are on data warehouse and some on data lakes. Okay. So you'll be working on data ingestion. So in fact, we talk about data ingestion very well. Like you have data across different places. The major challenges people generally companies face is data is going to be in different systems. So think of your data is in Salesforce system. You have data in an Excel file. You have a data as a CSV file. Now, getting the data from all these sources is very important. And we talk about that extraction mechanism, and you have data as part of an API. Now, the question is, what is an API again? So we don't need to go in detail right now, but we also help you in learning what is an API and then how to extract the data from an API and how you can read it, and then how you can later, after once you read it, you can process and store the data. Okay. Now, the transformation part is very simple. Think of a simple thing like, there's a recent change in the keyword. If you talk about Telangana, right? I hear maybe it was from TA to TG, it has gone transformed, right? So in those kind of cases, the keywords are changing. Now you talk about, you have some 20 lakh users and whose data has to be updated. how do you transform, right? So there's a bigger data set. Now we help on, we as a data engineer is going to help you on transforming the data to the specific standardization, which is very simple one. And then once you standardize, you have to store the data in a possible way, in the best possible way, with the best possible compression techniques. So we'll be working on those areas. Now, you also have to provide data access to reporting and ML users. So that is a very important one. Please make sure that you have an understanding that you load the data, but that's not it. So you also have to make sure that a report is generated, and I'll also be showing the demo, how a simple report can be created from Databricks side. And we talk about running the workloads in cloud infrastructure like Azure, AWS, and GCP. So once you know the Azure infrastructure about how the virtual machines are being created and how the data is stored and how the security can be provided, right? So you'll be the right person to talk about cloud infrastructure, and then you'll see, what is the usage, because the cost of the cloud infrastructure is very important to deal with the problems we are talking about, the big data problems. Now it is us as data engineers who are the people who has to run the workloads on a cloud infrastructure. So you need to be very mindful about what are the costs involved in Azure and all. So I'll also go into those basics as well. And having an understanding of all the services on Azure which are required for data engineer is a perfect thing that a data engineer should have. And he'll be working because we're running the workloads on these services. Now, you'll also collaborate with business analysts and ML stakeholders to design data architecture. So these are important. Now, in industry, there are many times they will tell, load the data into a stage, and from the stage you move to a data warehouse. So these kind of terminologies are generally there, and you talk with business analysts and ML stakeholders to see where exactly you have to place the data, and what are the transformation done, and you work with various set of users like business analysts and ML stakeholders. Okay, machine learning. Now, we're not talking about machine learning use cases right now, but I'll definitely give you details about ML as well soon. And we talk about a role of data engineer, how important it is, right? Now, if you talk about I think when you talk about the current finance minister, she has repeated the word of data 38 times. So you see the rapid growth of data is not just seen only in the setup of organizations. Even in the government sides, we can see a rapid growth of data. And if you see Azure government, there's also a different department for Azure, only handling for government agencies. Now that is it, especially in the US. But again, the same thing is also there in India as well. So the rapid growth of data is happening. Now there's no organization which does not have a data engineer. Okay, so that's the reason. Even if it is not a data engineer, he'll be a part data analyst and part data engineer. So I'm talking about a very small community, 10 people. But if you talk about you wanted to increase the sales for any company, or if you wanted to organize yourself on your marketing and all, so 95% of it is all in data. So data engineer is required in all the organizations that we have. Now we'll talk about the fastest growing IT roles in the market. So you see the data engineer is at 50%, and which is very high. Year on year growth is generally higher for data engineers as well. And you'll be joining one of the workforce which is having tremendous opportunities as you take up the data engineering. Now there is also, after a data engineer, right? So you also have a path that we can also help you. Now, after data engineering, what should you do? And how you want to become a data architect? That's one way. Now you say, I wanted to go beyond data engineering. I want to go into data science route. We definitely also help you on those areas. Having a combination of skills for data engineering and some ML will generally help you as well. All right, so now come back on the salary of a data engineer, which is also important. And now see, upskilling will generally give you always an advantage of salary. Now, if you see the average salaries, these are all median salaries, which we're talking about for the data engineers. And we can see here, these are a 1 year old. I'm not taking the latest one. Latest has some discrepancy because of different changes happening in the industry. But if you ask me, this is an average. So they're very, if you see right now, 6 to 9 years, we can see, the amount that we have seen so far from 3 to 6 years or 6 to 9 years are getting the same, as what we are seeing in the Indian market, especially. Now, this may be the case for the US market again, in general. We talked about, conversion to INR and then we put it. So, especially, if you talk about, the Indian salaries and all, 0 to 3 years also, we have seen people getting into 6 to 7 lakhs easily, and there are people who are at 10. But see, that's all depends on the organization. If you talk about, for people with 0 to 3, zero may not happen, but again, with 2 to 3 also, we have seen some people with above 9 to 10, which are being paid very good, decently for the data engineer role. The reason is here. So you are a combination of tech stack. You're not a one engineer with only knowing one area. So that's the advantage of a data engineers. And you also can see 3 to 6 years of experience having, very near to 8 to 9 lakhs is what we have seen. And we have seen 6 to 9 years and 9 to 12. These are the areas where there are tremendous opportunities everywhere, but we have only very few people, who are actually handling it. Okay. So I think these areas are generally not covered, and we can actually help you to get into a better direction. If you're just trying to upskill, you already have 5 years of experience, and you want to come into 5 to 9 years of experience, and you want to become a data engineer from the current role. Many roles are outdated. You talk about SAP. You talk about ETL developers, especially. ETL tools, right? So the story is stagnant, but data engineering, there's nothing stagnation there. It's only a learning curve which you have to start upon, and you can see heavy salaries coming in. But again, I don't want to get into the numbers. I'm not a number person, especially on the salary, because salary is something which will come eventually when you upskill yourself. But one thing I can assure you is, people whom I have seen. So even for a 3 to 5 years average, we have seen people with 18 lakh salaries. So that is generally, is from the services again, and that's happening already. So, and again, even at the time of inflation in the market, we never had a problem in placing data engineers as well. So, and many times, the number of calls are at a very higher end. Like, you per a week, we can see, 18 calls, 19 calls. I mean, this is something which is average. Okay. Now, there was 3 months back, there was a situation, the market was not good, but there is a person with 7 years experience, and he got 38 calls now per week. So 38 calls is a very high number when you talk about, in the market at this time. So there was a time when we started data engineering way back, 1.5 year back, as an external training program, not the corporate trainings. So we had seen people getting into the 60 calls as well. Now, these are not exaggerated numbers. It all depends on the engineer and his strengths, and how your resume is prepared, and what are the certification he has, and all these things all combined to get you the more calls. Okay. So again, to bring you back here, so the salary is generally higher for the data engineers. All right. Now we have 3 companies which are partnering with us. One is Test Perform, and then Zclap and Alfred Analytics. These are the 3 organizations which we have. So there are, so the types are there, and this organization generally helps in the placements as well, for their own requirement, and and their partnering organization as well. Okay. So if you ask, are we having the industry types for placement? Yes, we do have it. And there are a few things which I wanted to talk about, why you're taking it from us. And, I'll be giving some very good details as well. So, but before that, let's come back to technical side for some time, and then we go back. Okay. All right, guys. So are we ready for a demo use case? Any questions you guys have before I take to the demo? Or anyone has any questions? Any questions, guys? All right. Okay. Fine. Akshay said no. Thank you, Akshay, so much. So please be interactive. Please don't think that I'll think something else. If there's any question, you can ask me any basic questions you have, and we'll love to answer you. Okay. All right. Now we'll talk about a demo use case. Now before we start, I wanted to tell you that I'll use I don't want to use Python and Apache Spark at a higher level right now, because this is a demo. Of course, once you start the course and all, we definitely work on a lot of good areas, and then we bring it. I'll go with some simple use case, and again, I'll also make sure that I introduce you to Databricks platform. Uh, we're not talking about cloud infrastructure as well much, but again, I just make sure that we talk about the data use case. Okay, a data use case is given to you, and how do you handle it? Okay, and that too, we do have 3 things that we can cover, but I'll talk about one use case which we'll cover as part of this demo, right? So that will become easy. And I'll also use mostly SQL, because I can do the same thing with Spark, Apache Spark with PySpark, but I'm trying to avoid it for the sake that people who are showed interested in this demo, 80% of the people said we are not actually familiar with Python and Apache Spark. And to make sure that you understand that we can also do a lot of things with SQL as well, this is going to be a very good demo as well. Okay. Now we'll talk about bike sharing system. So I am pretty sure that people are using bike sharing systems for a very long time. Now, if you talk about Bangalore or Hyderabad, even being in Bangalore from the past 12 years and seeing all the challenges of mobility, right? When you talk about mobility, if you wanted to make business, right, you want to go from one location to other in the city is very important. Now, the Bangalore traffic problem is known worldwide, right? So it tells that now, if you have to travel for 3 kilometers, you are actually waiting for 45 minutes, which is unbearable. Okay. Now, what is the solution for it, right? The solution for it is bike sharing systems. Now, why it's an advantage? Now, you're talking about a car which is going to actually occupy a very big chunk of space on a road. Why don't you go for a bike sharing system? This is what we are doing. Now, bike sharing systems are a new generation of traditional bike rental systems. So way back, when I'm actually going for a schooling and colleges, I do can rent a bike. I go to a shop and get it. Now, that's not something which is not required. Right now, we do have a very good new generation systems where you have an app. You can actually register yourself as a user, and you can tell what you're looking for, what kind of power you're looking for in a bike. Or if you say the common bike of electric bikes are there, and you wanted to just rent and then return back. So when you say return back, you're going to a specific location. Think of you're going from MG Road. You are actually going to something to commercial streets. Okay. Now this is a location where you may be thinking of there is something a 2 kilometers radius is there. Okay. Now there is always a docking stations. Always you can actually place your bike in one place. You collect it from one place at a docking area. So if you can see in the image here, so this is actually docked here, right? Now you can take it, you can register yourself, and the bike will start only after your registration, and then given the QR code, and then you take the bike, and then you go to the destination, and then there is also a docking area there, and you place the bike there, and you can leave. You don't need to worry about giving it back in the same place, right? So that's the best thing about it, because way back in the traditional system I had to return back the bike to the same place. Now the mobility is very important, and bike sharing systems are really solving a very big problem that is happening in the market. And I really think we have to understand how this kind of systems actually help us, but at the same time, right, it has its own challenges. One of the challenges, can you think of, when you want to ride a bike, one of the biggest challenge which I see is weather, right? Weather. Now it may rain in Bangalore or it may not rain. Okay. Now can you predict it? If you wanted to book, now think of that you have to do a booking. Now you also have to see the humidity, and if the humidity is very high, especially this summer, do you wanted to take it? Now think of the case that you wanted to do an analysis of which is the best season to go with this bikes rentals. I think I wanted to get the analytics out of it is what I'm trying to go with the demo. Okay. So, and again, one more thing is remember, bikes are plugged with virtual sensor network. So the data that we're getting is coming from the sensors. Now, what is a sensor? I think you already know many times. Uh, a sensor is a one which actually, every second, right? It actually sends data, okay, data to the controller. When I say control, so think of a tsunami warning system. Many people know that in the Bay of Bengal region, we do have a tsunami warning system which was already in place, and there are a lot of sensors, which are already there, and then it actually, every second, right? It actually calculates the high tide and low tide. So that information, when the high tide comes, it's very high. Now, a tsunami warning will be triggered, and all the people who are in the coast, their mobiles will be getting the message telling that if you are near to the ocean, you go away. Now, sensors are so powerful because it is giving the real-time data. So that is important, and we already have that in place in India, and all the countries that are sharing the Bay of Bengal, Indonesia, Philippines, and all the countries for sharing this, is having it. So why I'm giving the real-time use cases, this is all about real-time data, what is getting generated, and how we have to make sure that that data is utilized, and how we can understand it. Okay. Now coming back to the demo use cases, since we already know about sensor, how it is used in India, we're talking about another system, which is bike sharing. And you can see, while you're going from, every specific corner of the city, the sensor will track, how much distance you're going, how much speed you're going in. If your speed is low, we know that you are actually having some traffic delays, right? So, and you can also see, it's raining. Now suddenly you stop the bike and you can actually place it somewhere, and you'll just find a tree where you can actually stand by, or find a bus station, where you can actually have a roof for your body, right? So this is what you do. Now, the sensor data is one thing which is very important, which helped us to generate this kind of data. Okay. Now you may be asking question, where do you get this data? Okay. So we get it because we have sensor data enabled on each of the system, each of this specific machine. Sorry, when I talk about a machine, I'm talking about the specific bike. So mostly it is all electric is what is being used these days. There were time, it is not electric also, but now it's all electric bikes. Okay, now what I'll do is, so having an understanding of this, now let's also try to understand the data. Okay, it's very important that we understand the data. So what I'm using is called Databricks. So I'll just log out here, please. It's very important that you guys understand what I was doing. So there is something called community.cloud.databricks.com. So this is Databricks is giving a free community edition for you to log in and do some basic set of data engineering task. So which is what I'm actually using. So let me use this, and you'll be have to register. Of course, I'll be helping you once you start your training on how to get to this access and all. All right. So the important thing here is the infrastructure side. So what is the infrastructure here we talk about is, if we're talking about Apache Spark and also, let's think of that as a machine right now. Okay. So we're not going into very detail about it, but we talk about a specific set of machines which can process your data. So for that, we need to have something called a cluster. Okay. Now, if you're talking about your own machine, right? You open Zoom meeting and you entered and joined. Now you have a machine which can process it, right? So the Zoom application. Now, similarly, we also have to have a machine that can actually help us to run our code, okay, to run our data. So because you are actually extracting the data and say, put the data in the main memory in the first place, and then say, I want to transform it, okay, and then you have to load it. Now, to do this all right, you need to definitely have a machine. Now, this machine is something not you are creating. We're creating it as part of the Azure infrastructure, and that we create with the compute. There's an option called compute, and if you can see here, I already, so sorry, I think this got stopped again. So what you can do is, I think I'll help you to create a new compute here. So compute, so demo class, so April. Basically, is a compute, and what it does is it is actually giving you it is going to create in the backend a machine, right? A machine in Azure which is having 15.3 GB of memory and two cores and one DPU is a Databricks unit, which we'll talk about it later. But again, so you're getting this kind of memory and the process, two cores. So this is all enough for us to do the execution, and you have different Databricks versions. So different Databricks version is nothing but different versions of the Spark software, which is part of it. Now we talk about 11.3 LTS, which is a stable one, and then we create the compute. So once the machine is created, right? So this takes generally some time for the machine to be created. Once the machine is created, then you have to start working upon your data set, read the data, and then you start processing. You have to write your code. Okay. How do you do that, right? So it's very simple. So Databricks is providing some option called as Databricks notebooks. Now, people who has worked on notebooks already using Jupyter and all, it's a similar style, but more efficient here with respect to Databricks. And this is the one which helps you to create the data pipelines. Okay. Now we already have, you can create a data pipelines using notebook, and you can see here uh, you can see here there's something called notebooks. So cluster is already created. So I already said you go to compute and say create the cluster, which generally creates. Now, apart from this, you have something called notebook. Notebook is the one which is the foundation for us for to create the data pipeline. Now, when you say data pipeline, what is data pipeline again? It's that you're extracting, transferring, and loading. So all this process combined together, you talk it about as a data pipeline. But not only that, you wanted to create a combination of ETL strategy, multiple ETL loads in a specific work kind of a workflow model. That's also possible. Okay. Now, notebook is the basic part, and we talk about only notebooks now. Now, if somebody wanted to upload some data, right? So you can actually go for some table and upload the data as well, which is also possible. So this is all what we have. Now, first we'll be going for the notebook, which is already created by me. So you have something called workspace, where workspace is nothing but you create a folder and say that I want to write my code. So that code you can actually write as part of it. You can actually go for bike riding. And I already created a notebook called bike demo bike riding. Awesome. So what we are doing, okay, now I already said, what we're doing is we're extracting, transforming, and loading. Now I'll do a few things as part of, first extraction is the primary step. You can see we have This is a notebook where you do have some cells. It's called cells. What you have here, you have to just keep adding the cells and then start working. And it supports three programming languages in general: Python, SQL, Python, Scala, and R, and also SQL. Okay. Now we talk about Python because Python is used at 75% of the users in the planet on data are using Python. So that's the reason, learning Python is the best thing. Now, there's also something called Scala, which is an equivalent to what you talk about Java as well. People who are familiar, they can also use Scala and also R programming as well for generally for many machine learning use cases. Data scientist loves R. That's why the support is there. So we don't need to worry about R and Scala. So you can happily go with Python and SQL. That those are the only things which you can look for now. So a cell is created with Python or Markdown. What is a Markdown? Markdown is nothing but if you wanted to write something like this, right? I want to say, I want to give a comment. So to write a comment, you can actually use Markdown cell, and else, you can actually go for Python. Okay, Python or SQL. Now we are going to use Markdown, Python, and SQL as part of this. Okay. Now, if you can see the first one, the first step is extract the byte reading dataset from a CSV file. So our data is in a CSV file. When you say CSV, nothing but a comma separated values. So the files are having some commas as a delimiter, and then we have to read it. Now, previously, to read a file, we used to use Python in the past, and then we used to write some 30 to 40 lines and do a lot of changes, and then we used to read. Now, the power of Spark is so good that with a single line of code, you can actually read it with all the options, and you don't need to think of much about. You get the reading options very quickly. Okay. Now we talk about spark.read. This is a function call, which we can actually help to get the data read from the CSV file. And after that, it also actually can infer the schema. You don't have to tell which data type that data is already having. So it's easy. And then we say already header is there. So header, you also have to consider it. The first line in the file is in header. And then load this data. When you say load the data, where it does actually, you can see something called DF. It's nothing but, we're talking about a data frame. Now, data frame is nothing but, it looks like a relational table, and, your data is coming into the memory. Okay. So this is already executed. I'm going with, what is the execution. So if you can see, it creates a Spark job. We'll talk about stages and all, once you are part of the training course, I'll definitely help out, on all the details in very detailed way. Now you can actually see, it inferred already the types of data types already. So did you mention the data types? No, we just mentioned the data, but it actually verifies what kind of data is there inside that specific file called data.csv, and it inferred the data type automatically. Okay, thanks to this infer schema option, right? So it actually got the schema data type, and again the header is already there. So that's the best thing about using spark.read. So this is the only Python statement which I wanted to bring to your attention very immediately, where you are reading it in the memory. Now the question is, why memory? Okay, why can't we do it, in the disk and all? Okay, now how are we maintaining Excel and all? So remember one thing is, so the memory operations are generally faster. Okay, so in memory, now you're talking getting the data from a file to the memory. That's when only we can actually do the processing. Okay. Now we're talking about larger data sets and all, and we're not talking about now, even though we're talking about simple files here as part of this case, believe me, in the long run, you'll be working on 1 terabyte of data, 1 GB of data, and combinedly you'll be talking about 1 terabyte of data sets. Now that Spark.read is the best option, to read and infer schema in the best possible ways. Now, after that, right, so why can't we display the data set for your understanding? You can see here, so df.display. So this is the data set, which we're getting it from the sensors, okay? So sensor data is in the file, and we bought the sensor data, and we put it something called a data frame. So data frame is something in the memory right now. So these are basic data structures, what is there. So I'll give very detailed about data frame, but it's very easy, in the coming classes again. But for now, think of data frame is something that actually creates a data structure for you, and it is going to be available in the memory. Okay. Now, after that, we talk about displaying the dataset for understanding, and you can see the dataset contains, the month, in which the bikes are. So it's a dataset for every day. Okay. So every day, weekday. So there are 7 days, right? So 0 to 6. And then, at that specific day, what is the temperature, right? So what is the humidity? What is the wind speed, casual, registered, CNT count? See, these are all the data set that what we are having. Okay. Now, what is very important now is I go back here. So what exactly I wanted to bring here is We talked about season is there, season, the month is there every month, right? So we also have data as part of it. So month is there, holiday is there, weekday is there, at what month, at what working weekday, at what working day again, right? So when you say is the working day or the non-working day, and at these season, right? So there's season 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is like, this is mostly for the other countries. So you can see maybe there are 4 seasons in a specific North America region, and we're talking about that. So all these seasons and all these things are part of it. So the important things are seasons, month, temperature, humidity, and wind speed. So these are very important data that we can actually think of, doing the analysis, which is what I'm doing. And now, if you see, let's see the weather insights. If you see the weather insights, so what I wanted to get out of this data set. So since you talked about, I know the season, I know the day, I know the month, and I know the humidity at the time. Now think of, what exactly are you looking for with weather insights. So what is weather insights again? Now you wanted to understand the biking conditions across season. Now, say in this specific season, say the second season, what is the maximum temperature, maximum humidity, and maximum wind speed for each season? Now think of, if the wind speed is very high, can you go and use a bike? No, I'll not use it. It's a risky process. If the maximum temperature is at 40 degrees or maximum humidity is very high, right? Humidity will actually create more sweating. Now, if these three things are generally higher, right? I generally think of, don't do it in the season two. I'll be thinking of season three is the best one, or that specific week is the one, and I can also go for a different weeks. So this is all weather insights. Okay, now this helps us to make a decision of, can we take the bike, are the conditions better and all. Now if you ask, in India, does it matter? Yeah, India may not matter much, we can, because we see only the monsoons and all, which you avoid it, remaining on all, and monsoon and summer, but remaining 2 seasons, the winter and all, generally you utilize it. So when it comes to other countries, this information is very important for the safety of the individual, very cold climate places, right? So what I want to do is, we'll also wanted to go for a simple architecture for it. One is, I want to extract the data, which is actually a simple design architecture which I have created. So we created data, we extract the data from a file, and then we first place it in a template table. Okay, this is a staging area. And then and after that, right, so we also do a transformations. Okay, so different three transformations which you can do. One is, if you can see the three use cases we talk about: biking condition across seasons, biking average biking condition, extreme biking conditions. Now I'm only worried about this, but what I wanted to bring is, whenever you're talking about a use case, right, a simple use case like it, you should also think of it as an architecture, and think of, how you wanted to perform a ETL job use case. And this is a perfect way of, representing for a small use case. Bigger use case, it will improve as part of your learning as well. So we'll make sure that, everybody is equipped into this kind of design architectures as well. Okay, so, and we'll also do some analytics as well. And let me go back. So having an understanding of design architecture. So this is just simple, that we have to read a file in the first place, and then that's what we have done as part of the Spark.read. I have read the file, and then I started displaying just for our understanding, and seeing, whether we have the data or not, which I want to make sure that you see it. Now load the data into table called bike share. So I was going back into this architecture. I clearly said, no, in the table one, create one new table, and then make sure that you place the data in the first place. And then I do the analysis. So why it is required? Yeah, so it's required because it will become easy for you to work on SQL. For that reason, I put it. So there is no need for it. Again, if you go with data frames and all, you can actually compute and then you can do it. But there are some very good options. Uh, what Spark provides is that you can also work on SQL as well, and we are exactly using the same method. And it's also good that, you're actually storing the data as well as part of staging. So staging data is also important in many cases where you are actually having important information. So it's also good. Now in this case, what I've done is, I created so I already read the data frame. So data frame, I said, no, it's a table which structure which is there in your RAM, read random access memory. Now that is something which I wanted to put it as part of the table, a temporary table. Why temporary table is because I don't want to keep and persist it. If you save the data for longer, your storage cost will increase. For that, just wanted to go for a temporary table for some time, and after the cluster terminates and all, I don't need to worry and all. Okay. So if you see, all these things has run before. Okay. So for that, you have to do something called make plus able. The cluster is already there, and then you have to just start run all option, and it keeps running. So the code is only here, okay? So because it's already run, we are actually utilizing it anyway. So if you rerun also, it will be the same thing. Okay. Now, if you talk about df.register temp table of bike share, it's creating a table called bike share as part of Databricks platform, and it's called a Databricks file system. And then after that, right? So we talk about transformation. Now think of, calculating the max temperature, humidity, and wind speed to identify the extreme temperatures. And I'm interested in that. So that you can actually do it, as part of Spark SQL with just a simple SQL query with some aggregate functions. Like, you can only choose season and the max in temperature, max humidity, max wind speed, and from by sharing, and you go grouping by season, order by season. So 1, 2, 3, 4 order it has to come. And again, for each season, you are actually making a max of the temperature. So this helps you to make sure that you find out which season is ideally, it is ideal for you to actually do this writings. Okay. Now after that, right? So since you already got it, now you put it in a different data frame altogether, because the return is going to be a result set with multiple rows of data, and that's going to be something which we are actually going to create a table to store it using an option called df1 dot register temp table. So this one is actually another Python code. If you see the previous one, it is just a SQL statement here. Okay. Now after that, if you see, we are actually having the table. Now, finally, right? So finally, it's very easy. We can actually visualize the result. Now we are telling select star from max seasons, which is the table which we have created. And then if you see in the max season, now is the one, where you can actually create a visualization. Okay. So you have an options here as part of the cell. Okay. So which tells us, when is the maximum humidity can see is in season one. Now, when is the max temperature? If you see the temperature, which is very hot and all, you can actually see this part of season three. Now you can tell, what is the limited humidity or you are looking for. You can see season three is having the limited wind speed. Now this actually helps you to make some decisions which season you can actually plan an outing, okay, with the friends and all. So this is a simple insight. Now at the same time, for a business, like, if I'm actually the business aggregator, okay, I'm the ride sharing owner for a specific area. I'll see this data, and I'll actually create more cycles. More cycles will be placed, or more bikes will be placed at this, or more investment will be done at the time when the weather is very much favorable to me, so that the business will happen. So that is what I can plan also, right? So this data is helpful for both the parties. One is, as an user, I get more insights of these temperatures and all in the app itself, telling this a humidity and all, and generally this season is very high and all, or the second one is for the owner itself, to limit the number of bikes availability at a specific point of time at a specific place and increase it in somewhere else. Okay, so that's a way that you can also save some cost. So this is the one. So this is the creation of visualization, which you can actually do it from your. So there's an option which is provided as part of the notebook, and I'm showing the same results. Okay. So percentage SQL is nothing but, it creates a SQL option here. So we mostly utilize SQL here. So apart from the Spark.read and creating temporary tables, I just went for a simple SQL queries and then brought in this kind of insights. Okay. So this all about this demo, a small demo, which I was actually, giving to you. Now, the last thing which I wanted to talk to you is, why to take training from us, because this is all important. So I think we are the only official training partners with Databricks University Alliance. Okay, what is University Alliance? So, so we are the official. Databricks has a University Alliance program, and we are members of it right now. We are officially invited into it. So this is only given for a few organization for who can actually offer external trainings, and for colleges as well, because we have people in the batches who also join from the US and all, and we do have successful certified students. We have around 45 successful certified students and who has registered through us and who got certification. And this is the tag which happened last month. Okay, it's a very recent one. There's a lot of evaluation process by Databricks, and then we got into this kind of program. I mean, thanks to the hard work of all the trainers and students, who are able to make us an official training partners. So which means the resources what we used are aligned with Databricks University. So Databricks itself, okay. So they provide us a lot of great content as well, and use cases, and we are a valid training partner. So whenever you say, our certification will also include telling that we are the certification will also tell that you're a part of Databricks University Alliance as well. So this advantage what you get it is this is the first thing. You are actually not actually going for a local institute and all. We are a training partner of Databricks University. And the other one is we had a certification program. So what makes us unique is we have 45 successful certified students. Now, if you ask, how do you get a job, right? So now we talk about placements. Now, even though we do have tie-ups, why do those companies has to take from you? Now, the many times, those company CEOs also ask us the same question is we have trained people who are certified as well. And certification is not a simple one. We make sure that, they go for a proctor-based certification. There are two certifications which we talk about for the Databricks. One is the one which is Lakehouse accreditation, which is free of cost, which is easier to be done, and which we generally make it done within 1.5 month, 1 month, 1 month of the course. And the other half month, other second month, we actually make sure that you actually go for a proctor-based exam called Databricks Data Engineer Associate Certification. You do that, right? I'm pretty sure the number of calls are generally higher. I told about the numbers of calls that a candidate is getting. He went for 60 above. How does he get it? Yeah, the secret ingredient there is, you should be certified, and we help you in that, and you get a 50% discount on it, thanks to us being part of the Databricks University Alliance, and that's. I mean, you get around. It's all like 60,000 program, and we get around 8,000 rupees discount. You just have to pay the 8,000 for going to the exam, and we help you on what are the things that are required. We have all the resources available with you, all the interview questions and all the general questions which are asked as part of certifications will get it. Now, having a certification means, it helps you to get the job very quicker. And we enforce this, to all the students right now. And that's a differentiation factor if you talk about any other training institute, and not everybody is doing on Databricks. And we are the first organization which has talent tech solutions and academy of data, the only organization which has started with Databricks as the central piece of the data engineering program. And our training is the most comprehensive data engineering course. What do you say comprehensive, right? We're talking about the coverage. See, the coverage is 100%. Any person who is having, even there are people who came from banking and pharmacy background who became successful data engineers as part of the program. The reason is the coverage is 100%. So the coverage of SQL, Azure, and then Python, Apache Spark, right? So this generally takes a long time. Either we can actually teach only Databricks, and then we can actually place a lot of people, but we don't do that. We make sure that any candidate who comes to us have to learn from the basics, even though they learn the basics, and then they have to go for advanced understanding of the concepts and building use cases and assignments as well, and then they have to go for a real-time project implementation. So that makes them a better person as an individual, and that's what we try for it, and that actually reaps the results, nothing else. And and we have, so that's the reason we talk about comprehensive data engineering course, and it covers everything. And in the era of ChatGPT and LLM, these are very much important to become a comprehensive data engineering course. And we have an integrated LMS system, so we have our own LMS, so you don't need to worry about things of where will my assignments and all come. So I just wanted to show you. So as part of we do have this app which is also having a tie-up. So this is already there. You can please feel free to utilize this specific option as well. And the advantages of this is, if you see, maybe let me actually get you to certain option. So one of the important thing about this kind of apps is it actually helps you to also be in touch with the trainer 24 by 7. Okay. So he'll be, I mean, if you have any questions, you can actually go with the messaging and all. Of course, the timings of Saturday and Sunday, the class timings are from 7 to 10 a.m. IST is what we are planning. Of course, it can also be 7 to 10 p.m. IST. So we'll take a look at the timings. Only in the weekends is generally is what is being preferred nowadays. So we are actually planning that in the weekends batches. So one of the important thing is people wanted to be connected with the trainer for the assignments and all. And this LMS system is going to solve that problem because we have our own app, and we also have a e-learning system as well. Okay. Now we also provide a certificate from Academy of Data for all the students who can deliver the project. And there is a guaranteed placement for a few people, not for a few, anybody who does it. So if you show 95% attendance and you are successful in the live project, and your Databricks certification is there, the one which we're talking about, I'm pretty sure that we can help you in the placement for sure, and it's already being done. And people who are data engineer certified, right? So I mean, many times we don't need to do any help because they only get the multiple offers, but we can guarantee the placements for this categorization for sure. The success is achieved in all the 11 batches which we had, because we don't do so many batches. We don't do parallel batches. We only do one batch at a time. So there's nothing like a parallelization what we do. So which means we are having very high focus on each of the individuals who are in these classes. Okay. Now the attendance is very important, and we make sure that you track that attendance actually. Okay, and then we have the successful live projects. You'll also implement it, and there are two projects which we generally get it. One is from Databricks one with PySpark implementation is one, and we use not an open source version. We use the real versions of Databricks, the enterprise grade, the premium tier one, so that you can actually do the practice on it, and all the projects will be happening there as well. So two projects, and ADF is also going to be one project which you will also probably lab with it. Okay, and one more project, and there are two projects which you will be doing as part of it again, right? All right, so this is all about me, and I have talked so much about the course and so much about data engineer. I talked about so much of ETL. I talked about so much of the general trends in the market. I talked about demo use case. Now the floor is yours. Please, anybody has any questions, please let me know, and I'm very happy to help you out.
One question.
Hey,
Hello?
Sure, please go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nitesh, please go on.
Yeah. When is ADF is come in picture?
So ADF will be the last one. So see, ADF is mostly used for orchestration. Okay, we're talking about there are a lot of things that we talk with Apache and Spark, and after that, right? So we immediately go for ADF. ADF will also be an end-to-end coverage of all the components that are required. So that will be in the last. So we do have 3 months, right? So in the 3 months, the last 1 month will be covering on ADF use cases.
Okay.
Right.
And the 6 hour Python is enough for learn to, I mean, all the activity in performing Databricks, right?
Yeah, that's a great question, Nitesh. So
Yeah.
Nitesh, so we are a data engineers, okay? Now the question is, how much you wanted to learn on Python. You can learn as a full-time engineer, like a Python developer is one case, or you can learn like a data engineer, okay, to get the basics of. If you see, right, so I just use a Spark to read, the Python and all, and then using Python, I was actually using the API of Spark and then reading. Now, do I need so much of Python actually for a data engineer? I think in generally not needed. So the focus of your all the interviews or all the your job is mostly on using Python to use data engineering use data modeling, right? Now for that, right, you need to go into level of having, maybe you have to get into the basics of Python, which would be like you talk about variables, constants, and data types, and you talk about loops. Yes, this all you have to definitely learn, and these are something which is important, and some object oriented programming as well, which we definitely do it. Now, it's not just 6 hours. Again, I want to tell you again. So we go for, I think it's happening at 9 hours nowadays. Initially, we started with that, but we did not have an inclusion of object-oriented programming at that time. So, but we also started using the classes and ropes. So totally, it is going for 9 to 10 hours of it. And okay, how can we make very fast? Okay, now the question is, to learn, you have to make very fast. So for that, we have a labs. So the labs are so beautiful. Okay, so believe me, I mean, maybe if you want me, like, let me show you that as well. I mean, because anyway, we have it. So if you see this kind of labs here, right? So we actually have a lab here as part of this. So we have a specific set of it. So for example, right? So we cover these kind of things. Okay. So we have some specific set of labs and all, and if you see, I go with the loops. Okay. This is the one which I can actually go. So the labs are so easier for you to implement. Okay. So you just actually give the syntax of the loops, and then we go for a simple use cases. Okay. So like go with the list of Indian breakfast and all, and then loop in. And these labs are well defined, and it won't take much time for you for your learning. If the labs, and it continues break statement, continuous statements, and then you can actually execute at the same time. So we have very perfect labs, which I can actually tell, better than any institute that you are having, in Hyderabad or Bangalore for so far. So this is the best thing, and we can also use some, more fun with repetitions. So these are generally helpful for you to learning. I don't think, more than this anything will come. And, exceptions also, previously we don't have classes, but we have included in the last time. So
Mm.
it all depends on, how much time you actually spend on the proper labs. And we are the best labs, it won't take much time for you as
Okay.
well. Okay, awesome. Awesome team. Any other questions, anyone?
hey, hi Kumar. Thank you so much. This is Manos. Hey, one thing to like to know. I know like you covered a lot of things. So what you didn't cover, like what are the things we need to take care apart from the course? So what are the other things we need to be take care of?
Uh, Yeah. So one thing which I generally tell to people is, if you're coming to the course, so this is a comprehensive course. When you take comprehensive course, it has from basic to the advanced, and we have the labs and all well defined. Now, in this course, what you have to take care is, the assignments. Okay, so completing the assignments on time is the only thing which is required. So even from the person who is just starting, also this program will work. Okay, so but having some basic SQL will generally help you. In fact, in demo I talked about SQL, but it does not mean that we don't actually take care of some basics. We definitely help. Now, everybody comes with different heterogeneous background, in those kind of external trainings, and we try to make sure that we go with the base level, which can actually help for any candidate. So that's what we do in the start of it. So which means you don't need to come up with any skill, especially for the data side. But one skill which I generally can tell ask people is you can actually prepare on operating systems a little bit, so that is something which can also help. So that's the only thing. Apart from that, everything will be covered as part of the course, as part of the assignments, as part of the training modules. I don't think anything else has to be done. But yeah, assignments you have to complete at the right time, and then the use cases and preparing for the test which we are actually providing as part of the Databricks certifications. So that's all needed. That too after enrolling to the training, not initially.
Thank you. And what
Welcome.
about regarding like a resume write preparation,
Okay.
interview preparation? If you
Yes.
have we have some doubts, following up, like need to talk somebody to if you have some follow up questions. So how that will that is going to work? And yeah,
Awesome.
if
That's
you
a
give
good
some
question.
lights on that.
So that's a really good question because that matters a lot. At the end, it's not just about training; it's all about how you can actually do well in the interviews, and interview preparation comes. When you talk about interview preparation, right, the first important thing is resume preparation. So which is part of this training. So even though I did not mention it, I just want to make sure that when I say comprehensive, interview preparations and mock interviews are also part of it. Okay. Now you also get included into it. Now, the important thing what I wanted to add you is you guys have to make sure that you can actually work with the trainer. In this case, it's me who actually provide you with the real way of how can you actually better make sure that your resume is picked. What are the tips for it? So those tips will be provided as part of it, and we make sure that your projects. Okay, what are the projects you have done, right? So that's your strength of it, the use cases. So we also make sure that you guys are going to work upon it and the because people come with some experience, right? Now we need to definitely show that experience as well if you're going out in the market. Now we also make sure that the projects has to be what are the projects you work. There are some KPIs, there are key performance indicators. Now you also have to bring the KPIs for your existing project and then visualize in a better way and think of the implementation, and then you have to talk to the interviewer. So those things are part of the resume and interview preparation, and we generally help. It's all part of it, pattern inclusion. In the last classes, we generally talk only about it. Once the resumes are prepared and when there are no questions, when people got the certifications. Now, I talk about certification, nothing but again, preparation for the interviews. You have to place the badge, the badge of this in the resume that actually, have a 10 to 12 times of picking up chance than, without any of the badges. I mean, it does not matter, many times, if you ask me as an interviewer, but for an HR, for a recruiter who is entry point, right? They generally say yes, he's a qualified person and he can generally do it well. And that kind of tips and all, we are actually going to be included. And this plan of all this program with the certification is just for that reason. So for making sure that your resume is in the top always, and you are the best, you have the best skills as well to showcase. Because showcasing is important, not every time, but especially in the interviews, it's very important, and that is something which will definitely help you. And to contact the LMS system is always available, so please feel free to be in touch with the trainers always, which is myself, as part of it. And if required, right, we can have some additional classes required. If you have some things required with the use cases, because we talked about use case in the last only. So those times, right, you just spend more time. And we also have set of 190 interview questions were already there, which are use cases related. So that is something which is also being provided to you. And I don't think anything will be covered apart from that. And if the coverage is there, apart from that, it's also going to be included. It will be easier for you. Okay. So we do have that knowledge already. The database is already created. And once you do it, we give it. And people are telling, that's the best thing that was happening because you're giving the interview preparation questions, right? So those questions, see, any company you go for 10 interviews, finally, it is going to be the same thing. So remember, that is very important. And we take care of it.
Thank you. Now, actually, you pointed out a good thing that because everybody will have their own profile, like KPI you mentioned about. If I'm doing some projects, so my interview will be a different pattern if it's
Yeah,
with
exactly.
somebody else.
Exactly.
So thank you for covering
Welcome.
that.
Welcome. Yes. So yeah, just to add upon it, so see, we cannot actually, each individual has its own advantages which they come up with. So my request was to make sure that you have to see your advantages, which you can actually talk with the trainer at the end of it. After the assignments and all, we can see the scores and see how things are getting better, and see the improvement areas, and then immediately, right, we see what are the advantages that you have it, and you have to talk about that in front of the interview. So that's the one which will make it natural. So that is what I do it for any of my students, and we definitely will do the same thing for each of the candidate as uh, part of this training.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, guys. Any other questions? Anyone? So if not, I can actually send you a survey as well. So there are some questions that also came before I go for. So course timings, duration, and fees. So fees, I would request, maybe that is something which is mostly taken care by Talent Solutions and Academy of Data. So I'll actually, once you show the interest and all, they'll call and they'll reach out to you. It's a fixed price anyway, generally for everyone. And the other thing is the course timings and duration. So the course timings is the plan was to have from 7 to 10 a.m. IST or 7 to 10 p.m. IST. And this we do it, we make a decision only on Saturday and Sunday. So we should do on weekday batches, but this time many people were requesting on the weekends. And weekdays, what you do, right? So weekdays also there are plans of putting some batch based on understanding on Wednesday. So this was a plan so that we cover on all the tests that are required. So it will be there. Think of it as a weekend class for now and start with it. But any holidays, we take that opportunity for preparations as well for the assignments and all, and we help them. Okay. So so that's all about the course timings. And duration is it takes around 3 months. So being in a comprehensive course with the basic to advanced, and you talk about now we go with the fundamentals and then we take you to the advanced cases. So we generally take around 3 months for this training, and it's an end-to-end. Believe me, you talk about end-to-end courses, they're very limited in the market because it needs a lot of energy from the trainers as well. And we do have 2 trainers as part of this program generally, so we can manage it well. And I'm pretty sure that the duration is something which is which is really the right duration which we are actually making it. So are we good, Manoj? Is your question answered? All right. Anybody has any questions, guys?
Okay, Kumar. So when exactly we're going to start the course?
The
So
course will be starting from next week, next Saturday.
next Saturday. Okay.
Yes.
So you like you mentioned about Saturday and Sunday, and
Yes.
Wednesday will be kind of meeting with the project related activities,
Exactly.
something like that, right? Okay.
Exactly. That's true. That's true. Wednesday in the morning, 7 to 8, like that. It won't be a very long, but it just make sure that you are in touch with us so that to see what was happening. So are you in touch? Because I don't want you to be losing the touch because of the weekends. So weekdays are generally helpful for touch-based calls and for the questions as well. Any questions or any problems that you're facing as part of the labs, we help in that time in Wednesdays. So that will be on
Thank
April 20th. Okay. So the batch will start on April 20th. That was the plan.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so I'll do this. I'll provide a feedback request, for you guys. So my request is, please, take your time for 2 minutes. 1 minute. Let me share with you. So in the chat, I provided a form. My request is everybody to fill the form, please, and provide a rating for me. And who are interested, right? So they can actually reach out, and so that we can. It's a feedback form. I mean, just make sure that everybody fills, and if interested, right? So you can also tell that you're interested, and we can actually help you out with. Okay. So we'll have 2 minutes. I'll be on the call. Please provide your responses. We have around 7 people in this call. I mean, 2 people dropped, telling they'll come back and all. So yeah, but again, that's fine. So please provide the feedback, and I'll be on the call.